to see in my way kind of what the real world is like, even though it wasn't the real thing.
Okay, he knew it wasn't the real thing. What is YouTube? How y'all doing? Yeah. Janet Jackson exposes Jay-Z plot against Michael Jackson. Jay-Z set MJ up. What? Come on, man. God dang. Jay-Z was out. He was going to do that last tour, y'all. He was finished. Man, Miss T. Shout out to Miss T channel. Y'all hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell. Hey, let's check this bad boy.
With emotion. And I actually had to walk out of the room. So it was just too much for me to handle. So,
God damn, she's still fine, y'all. She is still fine, my bad. Yeah, she's still fine, y'all. Yeah, baby, that was my wife, boy. Good God Almighty, boy. I'll do anything for you. Oops. I forgot my fiance be watching these. I'm sorry, honey. Janet Jackson.
Emotion. And I actually had to walk out of the room.
Poor
it was just too much for me to handle.
So, do you blame Dr. Murray for your brother's death?
Yes, I do.
That
He was
sound
the
like
one that
Oprah.
was administering the drug, as from what I do know. So.
One person I believe in Hollywood who people conspired to actually take down because he had too much power, and I believe that person was Michael Jackson. The reason I believe that is because you can look into the story. Paul McCartney and Michael used to be real cool. Paul was telling Michael, like, yo, you got to get your business together. You got to get your business right. Michael ended up getting so big that he bought the Beatles publishing. The Beatles publishing was worth so much that literally Sony gave Michael Jackson half of their publishing company just to own the Beatles catalog. Imagine how powerful a black man is when he owns our majority of the music industry's publishing. In some cases, was even giving publishing back to some of the artists. He gave Little Richard his publishing back. I don't know how many people he did that to, but he gave Little Richard his publishing back. I believe that Michael Jackson had too much power in the music industry, had too much control over the most valuable asset in music, which is people's publishing, and I believe they had to take him out because of it.
Yo, it looks like Janet Jackson, Miss Jackson, if you're nasty, just lit the industry on fire with what nobody saw coming. This claim, she's calling out Jay-Z directly, saying he wasn't just competing with her brother Michael, he was plotting against him. According to Janet, this wasn't just some small rivalry. She's hinting that Jay allegedly set MJ up, moving pieces behind the scenes to block him at every turn. Yeah, yo, talk about control. And now fans are saying that this could explain the strange moves, the backroom deals, and the sudden power shifts that left Michael isolated at the height of his career. These whispers are turning into a storm, and Janet's timing makes it even more explosive because Janet's claims just might be the end of Jay-Z's long reign as the king of Hollywood. Let's break this down. Well, don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? And we miss us some Michael Jackson, but Janet just cracked open a story that could change the way fans look at Michael Jackson's death forever. She's not buying the official story, and she's making it clear that the media wasn't the only force targeting her brother. According to Janet, the chain of events that led to Michael's passing was filled with gaps, contradictions, and shady connections that point to something much bigger. And at the center of it all, she's hinting at Jay-Z and his longtime ally, Diddy. Y'all, Diddy was in everything. But let's rewind a little bit because Michael Jackson died on June 25th, 2009 after overdosing of propofol, God rest his soul. And that drug was illegally administered by his personal doctor, Conrad Murray. Now, here's where things turn suspicious. When Michael collapsed, Murray didn't immediately call 911. Instead, reports claim he picked up the phone and called a man named Fahim Mohammed. And here's the thing. Fahim wasn't a medical professional. He was Diddy's bodyguard. Now, for years, insiders have whispered that Fahim wasn't just a bodyguard. He was the guy you call when something needed to be cleaned up in the industry. And the fact that he was allegedly the first call made instead of an ambulance has left fans wondering what really went down in Michael's final moments. But why would Jay-Z and Diddy even want Michael Jackson out the way? Well, it looks like Janet is saying it all came down to money and power. At that point, Michael wasn't just the king of pop. He was the king of Hollywood, and nobody touched him. Maybe Prince, of course, the purple one, came close, but Jay-Z, he wasn't even in the same league. But here's the part that most people forget. Michael wasn't just an artist. He was a businessman, doing business, man. Sitting on assets so powerful that they shook the entire music industry. He was the biggest sole owner of the Sony ATV publishing catalog, worth around $250 million back then. And that catalog didn't just give him money, it gave him leverage over the industry's biggest names. Producer Rodney Jerkins, better known as Darkchild 99, once revealed that Michael confided in him with living in constant fear because of that catalog.
You know, we always hear the conspiracy theories, like, you know, they be like, oh, Bill Cosby was trying to buy NBC.
Yeah.
Michael's the only person I believe they really tried to railroad like that because of what he did with the publishing in the music industry.
He talked about it all the time. He talked about it all the time. One thing I will say is that in the studio, he would always talk about how he lived in a certain fear. And I used to always try to reel him in a direction like, yo, you only supposed to fear God. Man shouldn't have you feeling like that. No man should have you living in that space. But he lived in that space a lot because he felt like he had something that was so valuable, which he did. He had something so valuable that people wanted.
He owned like half of Sony ATV's publishing, right?
Yeah, I think what people have confused, I'm glad you said that way, because I think people have confused the narrative. People for so long have said, Michael owned the Beatles catalog.
I heard that.
No, Michael owned Sony ATV.
That's right.
Which is Babyface, Mariah, the Beatles.
Beyonce.
Probably some of my catalog was in there.
Now, he knew everybody around him wanted what he had, and that paranoia wasn't paranoia at all. It was reality. And according to Janet, that catalog was exactly what made him a target. When Darkchild was pressed about whether the cases against Michael were connected to his power in the industry, he didn't dodge the question. He hinted that this was exactly what was happening. According to him, the accusations weren't just random scandals, they were part of a bigger plan. Allegedly, the media's obsession with painting Michael as a predator came from the higher orders. He made it clear that none of it added up. He called it crazy that Michael was being accused at all, and he spoke with conviction when he said he never believed any of it. Why? Because he was around Michael constantly. He saw firsthand how he lived, who he surrounded himself with. He saw the man in the mirror and saw him for what he really was. And from his perspective, those accusations look less like truth and more like a weapon.
That they wanted back.
You think they threw all those cases at Michael because they wanted it back?
I think it could have had something to do with it. I'm not going to say exactly that, but it could have had something to do with it. But I believe none of it because I was around Mike all the time and I knew the kind of person he was. So I'm like, they really trying to kill his character.
Yeah, I don't believe
And he would say it, like, he'd be like, they just can't stand that I'm the greatest. He would literally say that.
Now, Darkchild 99 spent years defending Michael Jackson because he knew the truth about him. He wasn't just speaking from loyalty, he was surrounded by people who trusted Michael and believed in him. So he knew he was standing alone. This is where things start to take a strange turn. Around that same time, Rodney Darkchild recalled that Michael was trying to stay positive, doing things to lift his spirits like planning major summer jams. But according to insiders, everything shifted after he teamed up with Jay-Z for a summer jam in 2001. That performance wasn't just another collaboration. It allegedly marked the beginning of Jay-Z weaving himself deeper into Michael's world. Now, some even claim that Jay-Z's connection to Michael dated back even further. Whispers say that he started infiltrating MJ's circle as early as 1993, with help from Latoya Jackson's ex-husband, Jack Gordon. And from that point forward, Michael's inner circle was never the same. Around the same time, Latoya Jackson suddenly claimed that Michael had written checks to families of young boys between the ages of 9 and 13, and that statement sent shockwaves, and the allegations began to swirl. Later, Latoya retracted her claim, saying she had been forced into it by her ex-husband, Jack Gordon, who was reportedly and controlling. But according to insiders, this wasn't just personal drama. Allegedly, the entire situation was orchestrated.
I guess all of them just messed up their nose, man. You gotta stay with what God gave you naturally, man. Them noses look like somebody pictured their nose, but you don't see the pinch. You just see it's somebody pinched their nose so hard it stayed like that. Oh my gracious, man! Rich people I don't want to be that rich. Rich people don't know what to do with their money. Help
behind the
others.
scenes by Jay-Z and Diddy. They had the connections, the influence, and the motive to turn Michael's world upside down. And the timing of these statements wasn't just random. So y'all remember that time that Jaguar Wright came out and said that Diddy might be horrible, but Jay-Z is way worse than him? They might not be rumors anymore. The one thing that seemed strange was how the two biggest single stars of the music world, Prince and MJ, were catching allegations like they were baseballs when Jay-Z and Diddy just managed to stay out of trouble. I mean, they were even being held as moguls that only wanted to help their fellow black men. So yeah, Jaguar Wright did say that Diddy was horrible, but Jay-Z was worse. And that claim starts to feel less like a rumor more and more like a warning. But what stands out is how the two biggest solo stars of the music world, Prince and Michael Jackson, seem to constantly face allegations. But Jay-Z and Diddy were untouchable, it seemed. Even stranger, the public narrative painted them as moguls who only wanted to lift up their fellow black men, while the real story, if you follow the Whispers Insider account, suggests a much darker strategy.
Wow.
It almost is like the cards were stacked and the biggest threats to the industry were being systematically taken down while the orchestrators stayed clean.
They steal, they cheat, they do whatever they can, especially the black artists.
Let me say this.
Sony, Tommy Mottola. Tommy Mottola is the president of the record division. He is a mean, he's a racist, and he's very, very, very devilish.
Well, Michael Jackson went public against Tommy Mottola, the CEO of Sony Records at the time. He accused him of racism, called out his unethical behavior, claiming Mottola was spreading conspiracies about him and other black artists for profit. Talk about, all I want to say is that they don't really care about us. That definitely sounds familiar. Because think about the way Jay-Z hyped up Jaguar Wright and then dropped her, or how Diddy allegedly spread rumors about Biggie and other artists whenever they tried to break free. That pattern starts to look eerily similar. Shortly after this, though, Michael revealed that Sony was furious with him for wanting out of the label, even though he owned 50% of Sony's publishing catalog. They wanted him to bend to their rules, and they were furious that he refused to stay silent about their intimidation tactics. And according to insiders, this is where Jay-Z and Diddy allegedly started tightening their grip, moving behind the scenes to isolate Michael and control the narrative around him.
So I'm leaving Sony a free agent, owning half of Sony. So I own half of Sony's publishing, and I'm leaving them, and they're very angry at me because of it. But I just did good business, you know. So
now y'all didn't hear this from me. But allegedly, Jay-Z played a role in the conspiracy against Michael Jackson because he was promised something in return. Now keep watching, because what comes next is crazy. Remember when I mentioned Jack Gordon, right? Well, here's where it gets dark. Gordon reportedly forced a marriage between himself and Latoya Jackson to gain access to her life and ultimately Michael Jackson. According to Janet, her sister was being manipulated and brainwashed by Gordon, and he allegedly convinced her that her own family was going to kidnap her. Y'all, the audacity did not stop there, because Gordon is said to have arranged a press conference where Latoya claimed that she had proof that Michael Jackson's alleged PDF activities at his direction, and she demanded $500,000 from the highest bidder. Is that all for your brother? Well, the level of control and manipulation here is unbelievable if it's true, and it allegedly ties back to the bigger network working against Michael, including some of the biggest names in music. Eventually, it came out that Latoya didn't have anything substantial and had been forced to make those statements by Jack Gordon. And not long after they divorced, and Latoya revealed the full extent of Gordon's abuse, she said he repeatedly hit her with household items, isolated her from her family, and controlled her every move. All these rumors weren't just random. They were part of an allegedly evil, calculated plot to destroy Michael Jackson's reputation and eventually take control of his assets. And according to insiders, the masterminds behind it? None other than Jay-Z and his close ally, Diddy. Now, the way these stories are resurfacing now is very telling. Since Diddy's recent arrest and the charges brought against him by Cassie and countless other alleged, more and more hidden truths are coming to light. Every new revelation seems to open another can of worms, and fans are starting to connect the dots in ways that make this alleged plot even more shocking. The more bombshells that drop, the clearer it becomes that we may never fully uncover the extent of Diddy's alleged treachery and crimes. Remember Diddy's bodyguard, Fahim Mohammed? The same man Conrad Murray reportedly called when Michael Jackson's pulse was weakening? Well, it looks like there may have been more to him than just being a bodyguard. During a period that Diddy seemed to get away with almost everything, it's possible that Fahim was the one cleaning up behind the scenes, similar to what Gene Deal would later do, allegedly. In the lawsuit Little Rob filed against Diddy, there were multiple claims suggesting that Fahim played a huge role in keeping Diddy avoiding legal consequences. Every piece of this story paints a picture of a network working quietly to shield some of the biggest names in the industry while targeting others. But here's the little detail that was left out earlier. Fahim had only started working as Michael Jackson's head of security about 10 months before Michael Jackson's death. And that alone raises questions because before that, there was barely any trace of him in Michael's circle. It's almost like he was suddenly planted there without MJ even realizing it. Now it looks like Janet is saying the reason she didn't spend much time with her brother in the weeks before he passed wasn't by choice, but she simply wasn't allowed. Michael was working non-stop until 2009, but when he died, not even his family was nearby. The only people present, Fahim and Michael's doctor, Conrad Murray. And when you connect the dots, it starts to look like carefully controlled inner circle, keeping outsiders and family away at the most critical moments. It can't just be a coincidence that one of the last people to see Michael alive was so deeply connected to Diddy and Jay-Z and his alleged crimes. It seems like people who wanted to bring Michael down made sure to isolate him, keeping his family out until it was too late. Janet said the last time that she saw her brother was 2 days before her birthday, about a month before he passed. When she found out he had been taken to the hospital, she was at home, powerless to be there for him in his final moments. The more you look at it, the more it seems like every move around Michael was carefully orchestrated to keep him alone when it mattered most.
Well, no, the last time I saw Mike was maybe a month before. I was giving my parents a surprise party.
And
so we were all there. We were all there.
The last time you saw Michael was around your birthday.
2 days before my birthday.
One thing that felt completely out of place was that Michael's family wasn't even informed about how serious the situation was. Tragically, Janet said the next thing she knew, her brother had already passed. The lack of communication, the isolation, and the timing of it all just raises serious questions about what was really controlling this narrative in those final hours.
History, where were you when you heard?
I was at home in New York. I was at my house in New York. You know, another day, another morning. And I get a call. Headed to the hospital.
And you headed to the airport?
Not at that very moment. I didn't know the severity of it. No one knew. I can't remember exactly who I wound up calling back to see how things were going. And that's when they told me he had passed.
He had passed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another shocking detail Janet exposed was how the people who pushed their way into Michael's circle allegedly made him dependent on pills. Every time their family tried to intervene, Conrad Murray would insist he knew what he was doing and tell them Michael didn't need any input from anyone. Janet claimed that even though Michael understood these interventions came from a place of love, he felt powerless to stop them. It wasn't just Latoya who was vulnerable to manipulation. Janet hinted that Michael himself was being brainwashed, with Conrad Murray constantly insisting that nothing was wrong, and Michael began living in denial. According to Janet, he refused to accept that things were spiraling out of control because the people around him had subtly convinced him nothing was abnormal. The isolation and the manipulation made it impossible for him to see the danger until it was too late.
Working with emotion, and I actually had to walk out of the room. So it was just too much for me to handle.
So, do you blame Dr. Murray for your brother's death?
Yes, I do. He is the one that was administering the drug, as from what I do know.
Janet also made it clear that she completely blamed Conrad Murray for her brother's passing. But she hinted at something even bigger. The people who controlled him also controlled his public appearances. This may explain why Michael's looks kept changing so drastically with every public appearance. Some fans speculate that there were humiliation rituals he was forced to endure because by that point, he could no longer speak up for himself. He was kept dependent on pills, isolated from his family, and denied control over his money in the final years of his life. So while Janet placed the blame squarely on Murray, Latoya took it even further. When she asked if she thought Murray was responsible for Michael's death, she didn't hold back. She said she believed Murray was just a fall guy, part of a much larger plot orchestrated against her brother. The idea that this might have been a carefully planned scheme makes the story even darker and more shocking.
You believe it may have been murder. Do you still think that?
Absolutely.
Why?
Absolutely.
Why are you so
I would
sure?
never, ever think differently. Because first of all, Michael told me that they were going to murder him. He was afraid. He was afraid
who
for
was
his
going
life.
to murder him?
The people that were involved in his life, the people that were controlling him. This book, Starting Over, is about my life. And it's about Michael's life. It's the parallel between the two of our lives. We share that same life where people come into your life, wiggle their way in, control you, manipulate, control your funds, your finances, everything that you have, and you must do what they tell you to do. And that's what Michael was going through. And he knew that everything that was happening to him was not kosher. It wasn't right. And it disturbed him greatly. And he kept saying it over and over and over again. Yes, Dr. Murray was the fall guy, but it's more to it than just that. He named names. He told me people. He told me to be careful of this one and that one. And in the beginning, I didn't, it's not that I didn't believe him.
Who were the people that he was saying?
People that surrounded themselves around him. People that worked with him. People that were with him the last days.
Any specific names?
Michael wasn't capable of doing these shows that he was supposed to do. Michael only agreed to do 10, and it's because they had him on such a tight rope.
Well, Michael had apparently told his sisters repeatedly that he was being followed and that he knew people were plotting against him. And given the level of fame he carried and the millions he attracted everywhere he went, it wasn't entirely surprising that he felt threatened. But the intensity of his warnings suggests that there may have been forces working against him far beyond what most people realized.
In 2003, a Florida supermarket closed so that Michael Jackson could fulfill his dream of going grocery shopping like everybody else.
I remember that. I remember when they said, nah, he wanted to go shopping like a normal person. Well, sorry, Michael. A normal person don't shop at a grocery store with nobody in it but them. Oh, my God.
Like a normal person. The other people in the store were friends, family of his who pretended to be shoppers. He did this because he wanted to experience what it felt like by putting things in a basket and what the real world is like. In this photo, you can see Michael Jackson appeared to be having the time of his life as he browsed the aisles.
To see, in my way, kind of what the real world is like, even though it wasn't the real thing.
Okay, he knew it wasn't the real thing.
We're talking.
That's a shame. That's when you know, hey, come on, man. Think about it. Take yourself out of your life and imagine being born. You experienced poor. He experienced poor as a kid. But from what, 8 years old, your whole life changed to this. Anything in this world you want to buy, you can buy 2 or 3. The boy bought the Elephant Man remainings. Why would you want to buy the elephant bones or something? That's that you know it's something ain't right. You should have been taking that money to help people. That's what God get mad. God get mad at these people. Diddy, your time has came. Jay-Z, your time is gonna come if you done wrong. It could, because Jaguar Wright is clearly saying you did something wrong.
Talking about a man who couldn't even go shopping without turning a place into a riot. Michael literally had to simulate a shopping experience just to feel like he was invisible. So being followed wasn't unusual for him, but imagine how much worse it was to constantly warn his family that someone was tracking his every move. Everything still came back to the catalog. Michael even told Latoya that he had developed a love-hate relationship with it. The people who stood to benefit the most, Diddy's Bad Boy Records and Jay-Z's Rockefeller Records. Coincidentally, both were founded around the same time that the rumors about Michael being a PDF file started circulating. And if you thought that was just a coincidence, wait until you hear this next part. Remember when I said that allegedly Jay-Z was promised something in return for spreading his conspiracy and controlling the media? Well, take a closer look at all what lines up. Michael Jackson passed on June 25, 2009. Barely 5 days later, Jay-Z's Roc Nation announced a distribution deal with Sony Records to handle its releases, which is very sus. If this is how they allegedly operated with music talents from the black community, imagine just how deep these schemes might run. Latoya also claimed that after she was forced to lie about Michael being a PDF, her brother confided in her that some people had infiltrated his circle with intentions to unalive him. And Latoya believes that her brother was unalived, and she says his daughter Paris Jackson believes it too. In her book, Latoya revealed that Paris said the last time she saw her father, he cried a lot and constantly complained that he was freezing and needed fire. She also shared that they were kept in the dark and that they cut the phones off. Allegedly, the people responsible for cutting off Michael's access included Conrad Murray and Fahim Mohammed. More recently, Paris has said that she hopes one day to get answers about the people who took her daddy from her so soon. If all the family members keep saying that something was off and this was a setup, it's clear it wasn't just about a coincidence. Looking at all the facts and surrounding the passing of the king of pop, it's obvious that something went seriously wrong and Conrad Murray ended up being the fall guy for it. But if recent revelations are any indication, it's only a matter of time before the full true story comes out. And that's where you have it. Janet Jackson pulling back the curtain on what could be the biggest conspiracies in music history. Jay-Z, Diddy, the media, and a whole lot of network players allegedly working behind the scenes, isolating Michael, controlling his life, and even manipulating those closest to him. But whether you believe it or not, the pieces line up in ways that make you stop and think. Michael Jackson may have left his world, but the questions about how and why are far from over. And if Janet, Latoya, and Paris are speaking out now, it's only a matter of time before more truths start to surface. But what do y'all think? Was Michael set up, or is this all just speculation? Drop your thoughts and comments below. Make sure you're subscribed because the next revelations could blow the roof off of everything we thought we knew. The King of Pop deserves answers, and the world deserves the truth.
Man, I think somebody wanted him gone. Should I be brave and say exactly what I think? Man, I think Jay-Z is the quiet man behind all this mess. I think Jay-Z from day one, when he was in the streets slinging, I'm going to call it slinging, I think Jay-Z didn't mind offing a person. I think that, it just came to me like that. I think all this stuff, Prince, I think Jay-Z is slowly playing real live mafia games if we just get rid of this person, because they got a board, man, and the higher ups that's blocking him in any kind of way because they better, he getting rid of. And I think it's been working ever since Big L. Shout out to Big L, man. Y'all need to look him up. When they was all in the streets, Big L done lost his life. I think I figured this whole thing out, man. And I think that 50 Cent and I think people that's in the industry that's close to these people, especially Puffy, they all know. He probably set Puffy up. Hey, I'm going to get on up out of here, man. Y'all take it light, take it slow. Tell them Uncle Mike told you so. Peace out.